jury selection. Prosecutors line up their case against the officer accused of killing George Floyd. And Catholic response. Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers shares his perspective on the trial. A fourth juror has been selected in the trial of the police officer accused of killing George Floyd. Judge Peter Cahill is in charge of the trial of Derek Chauvin, the officer accused of killing George Floyd last May in Minnesota. Yesterday, several potential jurors were dismissed, including some who said they would not be able to set aside their strong views on the case. The former police officer has pleaded not guilty to 2 charges related to Floyd's death. Joining us now is Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, co-host of EWTN's God's Blueprint for a Happy Life. Deacon Harold, welcome back. Always so great to see you. I know that you were following these developments like so many of us. Tell us, what role can the church and faith leaders play as this trial begins later this month?
Well, first of all, I think what we have to do is continue to pray for the repose of the soul of George Floyd, and for Mr. Floyd's family, and for all the police officers and everyone involved in this case. They will definitely need our prayers. I think one thing that everybody wants to see is that justice is done in this case. As far as what we can do as leaders, Martin Luther King once said that that humanity has to evolve for all human conflict, a method that rejects aggression, revenge, and retaliation. So I think the church needs to step in and be that voice of reason in a very impassioned, a very volatile situation, that the church can be that sign of the peace that Jesus Christ came to bring, a peace beyond all understanding. And that starts with keeping calm and cool heads and allowing the justice system to do its work.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that, because there are fears that if Officer Chauvin is acquitted, there could be more violence like we saw last summer. How likely do you think that is to happen, and what would you like to see as the response to this trial and its eventual outcome?
Well, I hope to see an atmosphere of peace, obviously, hoping that, that love in the end prevails, right? 1 John 4:16 says that God is love. And he who lives in love lives in God, and God lives in him. So I hope that understanding of God's love living and breathing and working and moving in us prevails over the emotion that may come as a result of this case.
I know over the summer you said that we're all created to support equality and justice. That Catholics should not support the Black Lives Matter organization. Talk to us more about that, and why do you feel that way, and what sort of reaction did you receive from that statement?
Well, the statement itself, Black Lives Matter, there's nothing wrong with that. As far as it's a concept, a statement of truth, it's a good thing. But when you look at the national organization, that's a whole different story. Again, they may have taken, some things off of their website, but that doesn't change the underlying principle that, what they're saying, that they're guided by things like gender identity, gender expression. They're making space for transgender brothers and sisters. They specifically talk about dismantling the family. Dismantling the Western prescribed nuclear family, as they call it, to disrupt that. And what we should be doing is bringing people together, not pulling people apart. And as I said before, if Black lives really matter, why aren't they protesting Planned Parenthood, an organization that takes the lives of thousands and thousands of Black lives every year? What about economic growth and stability and development in Black neighborhoods? What about the end of drug and gang violence? What are they doing to actually build and strengthen Black families? In fact, what are they actually doing to make Black lives matter? And I don't see that doing anything. So we as Catholics cannot support an organization whose underlying principles have nothing to do with our values.
Well, Deacon Harold, thank you so much. Those are all great questions to bring up, and we look forward to having you back on the show again. Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, co-host of EWTN's God's Blueprint for a Happy Life. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.